Yes, yes. Of course, I feel that there's so much of patriarchy in all the folk tales or the stories that we read. Maybe, and
we are taught a kind of stories which may not be acceptable according to modern times, and should be able to critically, not only critically read it, but also critically make new stories also. I'm speaking about new paradigms.
So reading that a book becomes complete. So when we read a book and we realize that this is propagandistic, one way is to kind of censor it and completely,
Stories can also be pedantic or propagandist, formalizing untruth, injustice and ugliness. For example, history itself is his story and not her story. Do we need new parables that are liberative, helping our search for truth, goodness and beauty?
Expert in gender studies. So when we were, asked to take history, we also sometimes thought that why it is history, not her story. When we bring together the story of a man and history, then is there only the man who existed? It is not the, common noun which we use for human. But we can't change it at a certain point of time when we already have, rich postmodern society, when we already have framed that term history in the, early phase of our life, our human existence. So I think we should take it in a positive way. Whatever it is, we are going to study the story of the human evolution, the story of our society evolution and civilization that is being, flourishing till time immemorial. And now we are also should more of, voicing about our local narratives. I already have said that the local narratives is very much important in framing history. History of India. History of India is incomplete without the history of all the other states and other regions which are being not, narrated in the history of Indian textbook. So I think local stories should be promoted in order to make people know what actually the place was and what actually the place is now.
It's about whether patriarchal influences are there in our storytelling, whether that is influencing the kind of things that our students read, whether there should be alternate parables created to give a more realistic.
Yes. Of course, I feel that there's so much of patriarchy in all the folk tales or the stories that we read. Maybe. And not only that, it becomes a continuing process. But therein, as the teacher, we have to see that the students also understand that and feel that, okay, in this present times, we are all equal and, and have those kind of feelings. But as of now, even though when I read text and when I tell the stories, I feel that influence very heavily. Luckily, the students that we get don't have those feelings. So they are very good students. So we can say that, yes, they are a set determined on bringing about changes in the system.
Teaching stories, I'm also speaking about making stories. In the modern time when we make stories, literature is not just to teach, it has to be made, made by new generation people. So the question is, should we continue the tradition of, this kind of stories of the powerful, stories of the successful? They are romantic stories, they are beautiful stories, but the question is, what about the other elements? In reality, the society is changed not by the rich people or the kings. It is changed by the poor people, in fact, or the so lovely people who transform the history. Even you can see the study of history. We'll can easily see that the changes comes from not from the ruling people, rather the people who are ruled. They change the story of the humankind. It just means the history is made by not by the powerful, but the downtrodden. So I imagine this aspect cannot be forgotten, because we are taught a kind of stories which may not be acceptable according to modern times, and should be able to not only critically read it, but also critically make new stories. Also, I am speaking about new parables, and making new parables which are suitable for our times and our generations, rather than just teaching and continuing the pedantic or propagandic aspect of history. We cannot romanticize and say that everything written in our epic stories are all good. They are not. They are really expressions of those generation which is subjected to casteism and all the kind of things we can really already read in the text. So I think we need a lot more modern parables which is suitable for our evolved humanity. That's what I wanted to say. Not only teaching it, of course we can teach it right way, so that this aspect can be excluded from the teaching, or make students more sensitive to that. But at the same time, it is our duty. We are not just teachers of the stories, we are all makers of story. As Professor Thomas rightly mentioned, we are the people who make stories. So why don't we make new stories, new parables, which is suitable for our times?
I can say there is good literature and bad literature. There are good books and bad books. Of course, there is propagandistic writing. There, what we require is, proper guidance in reading, and that is what humanity education is all about. Say for example, books are not read mechanically. We also interact with the books, and therefore it is in the process of reading that a book becomes complete. So when we read a book and we realize that this is propagandistic, one way is to kind of censor it and completely, stop it from publication, etc. That is what people do. Another thing is that students are trained to read, interact, and understand what is what. I mean, this is the book is all about this or that, and that is what humanities education and humanities training is all about. So, one sentence I can say, humanities education is about training students to read, basically, and that is very important. Right? Preventing people from reading or knowing is not the answer to these things. There are definitely books which are dangerous, which books which can mislead, and etc., etc. But there comes the importance of humanities training. I mean, so therefore, that is what I am saying right from the beginning, that going after technology, we should not leave our constituency. Our constituency is about books. It's about reading books. It's about properly guiding students to read and critically read and so on. For example, if there are patriarchal elements, students have to understand that, and for that they have to have training. Now, there is the trained reader and the untrained reader, and therefore we are talking about training our students to read, and that way, even if you come across a book which is propagandistic in nature, I think students can be guided to read it and allow and help them take that book for what it is, and that is my response to that. Rather than judging, right away that this book is bad or good. That's what it's all